today is the day of the challenge. And I truly believe that marketing and public relations is so important to nonprofits, and not only to nonprofits, but nonprofits in the fundraising process. So this is what we're going to start with. We're going to start with a little bit about me. And so my name is, and I'm probably getting calls from people who's like, you're supposed to be on your page, and I'm not. So my name is Sabrina Walker Hernandez. And a little bit about me is I studied political science and public administration. I obtained a nonprofit management certification from Harvard Business School. And for the last 25 years, I've worked in the nonprofit industry. I've worked in direct services, I've worked in operations, and I've worked in executive leadership. And in 2018, I was diagnosed with cancer and I felt I needed to retire. And since then, I've been helping small nonprofit staff and board build relationships that convert into more donations. And people always ask, why do I keep the cancer in there? And I always tell them that is the whole reason I started my company, Supporting World Hope. Because I want to support those nonprofit executives that are stressed out, overworked, and overwhelmed. And my cancers were brought on by stress. And so I do not want you to have those experiences with if someone out there is able to help you, and I feel like I am very much so able to help. And so this week we are doing stop being the best kept secret. um, because I would always hear that from nonprofits, like, we're the best kept secret in town. Like, nobody knows what we're doing. We're doing all these great services. And so for me, that always says that people don't really know how to market and use public relations to their advantage, not only to their advantage of fundraising, but to their advantage of being, letting people know what they're doing, having a good reputation in the community. Because what I do know is if you get your name out there and people um, trust you, or believe, not necessarily believe in the services that you deliver, but trust you and think that you're doing the right things with the money that the community is giving, then you will get more money. You will build that reputation. And so that's what this challenge is about this week. It really is about letting you understand what marketing is, letting you understand what those challenges are. So this week we will be focused on this week we will be focused on today we're going to be talking to about radio and PSAs, and we're going to be talking to the senior VP from iHeart Media, Billy Santiago. And the challenge we're going to do is we're going to create a press list and a PSA. So if you've never created your own press list or your PSA, hopefully you will walk away knowing what those components are. And then Wednesday, which is tomorrow, July the 21st, we'll be doing media coverage, and we'll be talking to Irma Garza, who's the PR officer for the city of Harlingen. Now, Irma started out as a news reporter here for a local media, and not only that, she's worked at this 3 municipal governments here. So she knows a lot about media coverage. And then the challenge is we're going to create a media advisory and a news release. And then Thursday, July the 22nd, is going to be all about social media. And that's going to be Aisha Winfield. She's the CEO of AIB Marketing and Consulting, and she's going to help you with social media and how to tell your story and what people are looking to hear for. Now, we're not going to necessarily do a challenge because it really is an hour of content, because social media has so many layers, and I wanted to give her that full hour to really explore that with you. And then on Friday, we're going to be focusing on public relations with Gino Rodriguez, and she is the CEO of GR Public Relations, and she has had a numerous amount of public relations background, working with municipalities, working with elected officials. So she's going to bring a whole new perspective to PR and marketing, and we're going to be creating actually a public relations plan for your nonprofit and having all those components. Today, before we bring Billy on, is I want to talk to you because a lot of people get confused. The first thing we're going to do is talk about the difference between marketing and public relations, because a lot of people get confused by them, and some people actually put them together. They are together, but some people actually think they're one and the same, and they're not necessarily one and the same. Okay, so when you're talking about marketing, you're talking about promoting a specific service, idea, or increasing your revenues. In our case, it's nonprofits, increasing our fundraising, right? And PR is more about maintaining a positive relationship um, for the overall community. So PR is more about your reputation. What is the perception when people think of your nonprofit? Whereas marketing is you are actually promoting a service or promoting your idea or promoting an increase in revenue. So both really lends a hand in improving your fundraising. I do want you to understand that. So it's not a choice of doing one or the other. You need to do both PR and marketing. Okay. Again, PR is having that good relationship, maintaining a good reputation in the community. That is what PR is. And so marketing, when you're marketing, I'm trying to give you some examples. What is the with marketing and with PR? So when you're marketing to your current or potential donors. When it's PR, it's the overall. You're marketing to everyone at large. You want everyone at large to think of you and have that reputation. When it's marketing, you're talking about doing an ad and increasing your donations. Whereas if you're talking about PR in that same arena, you're talking about what message am I communicating? How am I going to manage the message that I'm putting out of there, putting out? What communication channels am I going to use? And when you're doing marketing, your goal is to increase your revenues, increase your fundraising, increase your sales if you have a social enterprise. Whereas with PR, you're talking about you're trying to influence someone's mindset, right? When you're doing marketing, you're increasing your revenues, you're trying to increase your, that's the whole goal. But PR, you're actually trying to change their mindset. You're trying to when they think of your organization, they think positive. When they think of, you're trying to build your credibility. Those are the things that you're doing when you're thinking PR. And then when you're doing marketing, the short-term impact for marketing is your revenue should go up. That's what you're doing the marketing for. So that short-term piece for marketing is your revenue should go up. When you're talking PR, the long-term impact of PR is there's a positive perception of your organization in the community. When people think of your organization, they think trust, they think credibility, they think positivity. And so I hope just by that simple explanation, you can see how these two things go hand in hand and why your organization needs marketing to increase your revenues, to target those potential donors, to increase your, I say revenues because revenues and expenses. Some of you might say increase your donations, whereas PR is really about the reputation. People will give to you if you have a great reputation. If they trust you, if they respect you, they will give to you. So you cannot do one without the other, and they go hand in hand. And that's why this 4-day challenge is addressing both marketing and public relations. And that's why we have experts along both of those channels. And today, I'm so happy to be talking about, radio and PSAs, because when it comes to that, you know, we all have different radio stations in our community, and we all have different DJs and personalities and all that. And I say the power. It's great to have those, but I always say the power lies in the programming person, which we're going to have Billy come on and talk about that, because they're actually the schedulers and they're actually the ones who determine who can come on live on the radio and what type of relationship you're going to have. I'm not going to steal his thunder, but what you need to do when you're doing a PSA, I will say this, that with the radio, radio is required to a certain degree to provide free coverage or free PSAs for nonprofits. But you do have to be a nonprofit with a 501c3 designation. It cannot be just a nonprofit because I'm a nonprofit in my state and that's it, and I haven't done the federal IRS paperwork. You have to be a designated 501c3. And a lot of times, some radio stations will ask for that, some will not. I say have it because most often they will, right? So when you are doing a PSA, you need to provide it in a couple of formats. You need to provide it in a 30-second format and a 60-second format. Now, if you can do a really cool one that is recorded and that you edit it and send and it's 30 seconds or 60 seconds, they will play that if they have the space to play it, right? Or you can do something very simple that's not going to require you to do production or any of those things. For every event that you have, you can do a radio PSA. And the radio PSA, again, should be around 30 seconds long. That is something that would allow the DJ to read out loud in the amount of time that they have. And the basics of your PSA needs to include vital information. And it's going to sound simple, but this is really what it needs to include. It needs to include who is putting on the event. So let's say if your organization, let's go with the Destiny House. So you would say the Destiny House. The Destiny House is putting on a back to school event, right? So it's going to be who is doing the event. It's going to be what is the event or program. So the Destiny House is putting on a back to school event. That is the what. It's a back to school event. When does it take place? On Saturday, August 21st. Where is it going to take place? The event is going to be held at uh, the local Boys and Girls Club. Um, why is it being put on place? This event is being held in support of high school students that are going back to school. We will be distributing back to school supplies, right? And then how can you find out more information? If you want more information about this event, please reach out to Sabrina at this number. We are currently looking for sponsors and or if you are a student and want to sign up for the program, please also use this number. Very simple, right? So who is putting on the event and the program? What is the event and the program? When does it take place? Where is it going to take place? Um, why is it being put on? And how can you find out more information? That's it. It should be right around 30 seconds long, and you should have a for additional information at the close of the PSA. And so, and then a very simple format: the who, what, when, where, and why. At the top, your contact information for who they need to contact for more questions. You send that traditionally, in my experience, I have sent that, not, you don't send it to the DJ, you send it to the programming person, right? And it's nothing wrong with doing a collective group of emails. So one of the things that I said I was going to do today was share with you how to create a PSA, radio PSA listing. It's pretty simple. It's pretty easy. You go in, and this is where Google is great. You can go in and you can Google radio stations in my area, and it will bring up a list of all the radio stations. So I just helped someone in Maryland. So you would do radio stations in near whatever city it is in Maryland or that service that area, right? And it'll bring up all the radio stations that service that area, and it'll tell you what genre it is. And I don't really care about genre. I send it to everybody. But if your nonprofit is not geared towards a certain genre, but you do have to think about where are my listeners? Where are the people who would participate in my nonprofit program? Which radio station are they most likely to listen to? I never really dissected that out. What I did was I sent it to every radio station. And so you create a group email based on that. Now, when you go in there, for some markets, it's a lot of radio stations. But what I have learned over the years is it's a lot of radio stations, but usually one program person is in charge of multiple radio stations. So really, you just need a one single contact. So for example, in my community, and Billy will be coming on later to share this, he's actually the programming person for, I want to say five, it could be 5 or 4 radio stations. So he's that contact for that one contact is the person for 5 or so radio stations. So when you go on to, when you get the radio stations near me, oftentimes they will have the telephone number for the radio station, and not the one where you call and win prizes, the actual business. You're looking for the business line. And so when you do make that call, you're going to ask them to please connect you or provide the email for the programming person who's in charge of programming. And that's the email that you want. And you're going to create that email database. And when you do your PSA, you are going to send that one email to everyone at the same time. There's no sin in doing that, okay? Sending it to them, everyone at one time. They all get the information. Where the relationship comes in, because it is about building relationships. When you have that separate relationship, what you should do is send the email to that person again and say, hey, can I come in and get some airtime on this? Right? And then that's when you can schedule that airtime. But you do have to have a relationship, right? And so Billy is going to be talking about how do you start a relationship with the programming people. What I know is if you feed them, and this could be contradictory, if you feed them, drop when you have nothing going on, just drop off some breakfast in the morning to them. They're happy. Start that relationship up. So that's what I know, and that's what I've gained. So again, when you are developing your list to send to the radio, you just Google radio stations near my area, or in, not near my area, you put radio stations for, I live in Edinburgh, so Edinburgh, Texas, and it will provide me the radio stations for my area, right? For you, you might live in another area. You put that area. And then once you get that, you will get their business line, and you will call and you will ask what is the email for the person in charge of programming, right? So you might be saying, girl, I ain't got time to be Googling and then making these phone calls. This is where a good volunteer can come in, or a good intern can come in. I'm gonna tell you how I got my first list. My first list came because I had someone from high school who needed to do some community service hours. So I sat them down at the computer. I said, Google this, call them and ask them who their programming people are. Get their emails. That's what I need you to do. I had them do that not only for the radio, I had them do that for the television stations, radio, and magazines. So it doesn't have to be you when I say do this. It can be a team volunteer, it can be an intern. But if it's something, if marketing is a priority for you, which I think it should be a priority for everyone, then take the time one afternoon to say, you know what, I'm going to designate this time. And I'm going to make these calls, right? So it is important. It will make a difference. And then the other thing is people don't, I say, this is my opinion, and I did this for years. I think everything is newsworthy. That is of my opinion. So when I say everything is newsworthy, what I'm talking about, if we did a back to school bash, if we did a Halloween event, if we did a Thanksgiving event, if we did anything, every event that we had, we created a PSA, a media advisory, and a news release. So create that radio PSA for any events. If you're doing a clothing drive, you create that PSA for that clothing drive. Will they play it? They may or may not play it, but you're giving them the opportunity to have it, because on a slow news day, or if they need to fill airtime, they will play your PSA. So don't you make the decision for them by not creating it. And it's very simple to create. I am going to be putting the layout for the PSA in the group. And it will go in the group, not on the page. And I'm going to figure out what is going on with the Zoom and Facebook too. So again, PSAs are very simple to do. Radio PSAs are very simple to do. You are going to highlight again who is putting on the event, what is the event, where does the event take place, where when will the event take place, why it is being put on, and how they can find out more information. So for example, I'll give you another one right off the cuff. You would say, who is putting on the event? Since I did Boys and Girls Club for so many years, I'll do that. So I say Boys and Girls Clubs of Edinburgh is putting on a Halloween event. It will take place at the location located at 702 Cullen Street. It will take place on Halloween night. The doors will open at 7 p.m. The doors will close at 10 p.m. This event is being put on because we want to ensure that our community children have a safe place to go for Halloween. And you can find out more information by emailing this certain person or visiting our website. And the cost of the event is free to the community. If you have any more questions, please reach out to, and then you provide that information. Literally, that is what a PSA is. Very short, very sweet, and to the point. You send that to the radio, and then the DJ will announce it out. You reach out to the programming person and you say, I would love to come in and do a live with the DJ. And traditionally, in my experience, you can go onto the radio stations and you can do a live. Now, it is, in some cases, it is live. You are live on the radio. In other cases, you are recording it and they will play it at a later time. But that opens up your event to the masses, and everybody, in the community will hear about the great work that you're doing and why you're doing it. And it reinforces your mission. You're providing something safe for the kids if your mission happens to be for the kids. If you're an animal shelter, right, and you have an overflow of animals and you need these animals to be adopted, do a radio PSA. Again, you can say, Sabrina's Animal Shelter is putting on an adoption day. It will be held at Sabrina Center. It would take place, held at Sabrina Center, located at 300 South Church Street. And we're putting this on because our center has an overflow of animals, and we are a no-kill shelter. And so this weekend you can adopt your animal for $5 and they will be spayed and neutered. Then that is read by the DJ and several times or repeated, and that opens up the communication to everybody in your community. And if you go in and do a live, you even have more time to explain why you're doing this, why your organization exists, why why are you a no-kill shelter, or why you're providing this Halloween event to keep kids safe. What is your mission? It would allow you to be able to have that conversation with that DJ and for the masses to hear you. So radio is truly, truly important. I still listen to the radio. A lot of people still listen to the radio. And so doing that, regardless of in your mind, how big or how small you think the event is, should not matter. Every event, every event should have a PSA. Get into the habit of doing it, because PSAs for the radio doesn't require a picture, as with the news release it does. And so this is a really good, no cost way, no cost, because I know my nonprofits like no cost way to promote and share your program and your organization, and to let the masses know what you're doing, which could later turn into donors, because you're letting them know what you're doing, right? And so I do want you to feel encouraged by this. And so you don't necessarily have to always hear it from me, because I know y'all get tired of hearing me talk. That's why I like to bring on the guest speakers that we have, and Billy will come on and he's gonna ask some questions. Now, what I want you guys to do is I want you guys to be aware that you can ask him any questions, right? And so I really want to encourage you to ask him any questions that you have, because it is key to hear it from someone who has been doing it for so long, and he's been in this business for a very long time. And so he's seen a lot of nonprofits really take advantage of radio and PSA and what that has to offer, and some that don't. And there is a difference in the two. People need to hear from you. You need to stop being the best kept secret in your small town. And the first gateway into stop being the best kept secret is radio. Radio is a friendly industry, very friendly industry. They want to support the community. They're not in the world of, the best way to say this is, they're not in the world of um, breaking news, for lack of a better word. And so you're not in competition with that breaking news cycle. And so they are more apt to um, play your PSA, or have the DJ talk about your PSA, or read that PSA. So if you are like, my God, this is a little bit overwhelming for me. I don't really know about this marketing and public relations thing. Start with radio. Start with radio. No picture required, right? So you don't have to have that fabulous picture. It's a basic who, what, when, where, and why. um, is sending it to the program person at the radio, who's generally in charge of several radio stations. There's a potential of going on the radio live. Now, and the other thing is, you're not on TV, right? So if you're going on live, it's literally what I'm doing right now. It's headsets and you're talking to the DJ. That's it. Headsets talking to the DJ. You forget that a lot of people are listening to you, right? So you don't have that pressure. So radio is the best gateway into this marketing area. And if it's not you who's doing it as the CEO, then maybe it could be a board member, or maybe it could be a staff member who has that skill set. But whomever it is, they do need to know how to verbally communicate and be ready for that. When I first started in this, it was the least nerve-wracking marketing that I did, because remember, again, there's no cameras. It's just you, the DJ, and the microphone. Um, and the offices, what I realized, and I want you guys to realize that too, if you've never done radio marketing, is that usually the radio stations are housed in one space, And so that surprised me. So so you would go in and you would have like one radio station that's playing like hip hop, right? And then literally you walk out of that office and you walk to the next office, and it's the radio station that plays rock, and you do an interview there. You walk out of that office into the next office, and it's the country radio station. And you walk out of that office to the next office, and it's the pop radio station. They're literally in one building and offices next to each other. And in my mind, before I started doing this, it was not what I pictured. Okay. So you can literally hit 4 or 5 radio stations in less than 30 minutes of your time. And that's 5 different versions of an audience that is going to hear your message about your nonprofit, right? So again, before we bring on Billy in a couple of minutes here so you can hear from the horse's mouth, in the group, I will put the layout for radio PSA. It's pretty simple. What I'm going to do is put the who, what, when, where, and why, and then I'm going to give you samples of some ones that's actually been used, because sometimes even when you have those layouts of the who, what, when, where, and why, it helps me to see some that have actually been read or printed. That I want you to understand. And then the other part that I want you to understand is 2 more things I want you to understand. The other part is you need to get emails for the programming people for the radio stations. How do you do that? You're going to Google radio stations in ABC town. The radio stations are going to come up with their telephone numbers. You're going to call and you're going to ask for the programming person, and not email for the programming person. And not only are you going to ask for the email for the programming person, you need to make sure what stations are they in charge of, because like I said, oftentimes one person may be in charge of 5 or so radio stations. And then thirdly, radio PSAs are the least nerve-wracking, right? Again, it's you, the DJ, some headphones, you're talking, and radio PSAs are free, right? So keep that in mind when you want that word out there about your nonprofit. Keep that in mind. Having said that, we are going to I'm going to bring Billy up, and we are going to have this conversation. So Billy, are you in the room? He's on mute.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. This is good. I can hear you now. So I know that you have just stepped out of a meeting, so you might not be able to get on camera. So I have a couple of questions for you, and then I am going to see if the group has any questions for you. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay, perfect. So the first question is, oh, you are there.
Yes, ma'am.
The first question is, what is the best way to go about starting a relationship with a radio station?
You hit it right on the head a little while ago. Bring tacos. Really, I mean, for those of you who don't know, I've known Sabrina for, God, 30 years.
Yeah, long time.
And when we were stationed in Edinburgh, she would always come to the radio station just to say hi. She didn't want to get on the air or anything, and she'd bring us tacos. And so the guys really loved that about her. So when she asked if she can get on the air to talk about a coming event she wanted to promote, everyone, yeah, bring tacos. And that's how we build a relationship. But the way I approach it, I oversee 4 radio stations here. We have Wild 104, which is our hip hop, R&B, reggaeton station. We have KTEX FM 100, which is our country station. We have Kiss FM 105.5, 100.63 is our AC station. Then we have Fox Sports 1700. Unfortunately, we're not local on 106 and 105, 1700. They're all satellite for the most part in the morning, but we're on Wild and KTEX. We have live announcers in the morning, DJs in the morning. So what I like to do, if a nonprofit comes to me and asks for some on-air time, I usually ask them, okay, well, give me a rundown of your event, the who, what, where, the basic things, and then I'll make a determination on what we can do for you. If you're a new nonprofit, what I'd like to do is offer you an opportunity to come on our public affairs program that we run on the weekends. It's a longer form where you can talk about your organization and the kind of things that you do in the community. And what we do is we air it on Saturdays on KTEX at 7, and we air it on our other stations Sundays at 7. And then we upload it to our iHeartRadio podcast network, which gives you more listenership. And that gives you an opportunity to talk about your organization, the things you do, the plans you have. And it's a great way to bring awareness to your nonprofit. Okay. Now, if you have an event coming up and you just need to get the word out about it, I offer morning show interviews. I've been doing this for a number of years, ever since we were in Edinburgh, and I do it on both Wild and KTEX. And it doesn't matter the format. It doesn't matter. You know, if I can help a nonprofit get their word out, then iHeartMedia as a company, we're helping the community. We're helping nonprofits get the word out about what they want to do in the community. And so the only thing I ask nonprofits to do is when they come in to talk about their event, I don't like them soliciting sponsorships. I just want them to give the information, and they'll talk back and forth. If you want more information, go to our Facebook page, go to our website, call this number. You want to call to action. We help you get the information out there, but it's your website, it's your Facebook page, it's your other social media accounts that have all the details. So that's what you have to use. You have to utilize those platforms, and later on this week you'll get more on that, on how to build your social media platform. But in today's world, that's so important. Radio plays a small part, but those other social media platforms keep getting your word out, And if you have a big fundraiser coming up and you need like an MC, I always encourage our on-air talent to be involved in the community. Go out there and give back, host, be an MC for an event, do it on a weekend. Jojo, our KTEX morning show guy, he's always out there emceeing events. When Patches was here, he's retired, but he was always going out emceeing events. Jam and Jay-Z on Wild 104, he's always giving back because that's important to them. That they want to be a part of the community, and if we can help nonprofits meet their goals, then we're doing what we need to do as broadcasters, and that's giving back to the community. It's what we call our social responsibility to the community. So the thing you have to really, really do, though, is you have to have that 501c3 certificate, because there's been some scams going on, and we got scammed one time on an event that was happening in a Mercedes, and they were selling tickets for it, and I thought it was a good nonprofit, and so I was helping them promote it. Well, come to find out they were scamming people, and so we stopped that. You come to us, you want us to help you promote your event, I'll ask you for a 501c3 certificate. If you don't have it, well, we can't do business. That's just our policy, But it's about building relationships with the media people. You see Tim Smith on Channel 5, he's emceeing a lot of stuff. They don't mind doing it. If they have the time, they'll do it, and never, you know what? All they can say is no, but you have to ask. And that's important, and I'll give Sabrina this. She was always calling us every time she had an event. She was always calling us, and we never had a problem putting her on because, one, she was entertaining, she was articulate, and we had fun with her, and we helped her get her message out. That's what it's all about. Now, if you're shy and you freeze up in front of a mic, you might want to consider getting somebody else to come and speak on behalf of the organization, because, hey, you only have one shot. And sometimes I'll get feedback from the talent. Go, man, Bill, that lady, man, it's like pulling teeth to get her to talk, and you don't want that, man. You want to, if you get an opportunity to be on, on one of our morning shows. And I don't know how the other radio stations work, but we offer that here at iHeartMedia. But if you get a chance to be on the radio in the morning to talk about your organization, to talk about an upcoming fundraiser, you got to hit a home run with it. So, and if you're entertaining, they have fun with you, they'll say, hey, Bill, that person that you had to come talk about, see if they want to come back and talk about another event. And then the talent will take a liking to you, and they'll help you promote your event just because they want to help you. They'll post something on their social media platform just to help you promote your event. Jay-Z has a friend who runs an animal rescue. She gets no federal funding. All the money she makes is through fundraising to help her animal rescue. And that's a real big problem here in the Rio Grande Valley. So we help her promote her events. Anytime she has an event, she comes to us, bam, we get her on the radio, we get her to do a borderline show, we help her promote her events. I had a friend of mine that had a son who was autistic, and he was doing an autism fundraiser. It was real personal to him, you know, and Jay-Z from the Wild 104 radio station, he took a liking to his son. He brought his son with him to the radio station one morning, and Jay-Z volunteered, hey man, you need me to MC your event? I'll be there for you. It's those kind of relationships you build, and don't be afraid to ask, because if you don't ask, you shan't receive. Okay. And for every 10 asks, you may get 3 responses, but you know what? That's just the way it works. It's like salespeople. For every 10 people you ask to buy advertising from you, you may get 3 people that may listen to your pitch, and maybe 1 will buy from you. But that's what you have to do. You have to keep grinding. You have to keep pounding the pavement. If you believe in your cause, if you believe in your nonprofit, that's what you have to do. It's all about the passion, and get out there, and Irma's going to talk about this tomorrow, but building those relationships with community leaders, because you get community leaders to believe in your cause. And if they trust you as a person and you're a good person, that goes a long way with them. They'll even get people to help donate money, you know? So don't be afraid to get out there, be noticed, join the chambers of commerce, because there's business people at these chamber of commerce. They have breakfasts, they have lunches. Those are wheelers and dealers. You get into that community of people, good things could happen for your nonprofit.
So you see why I love Mr. Billy, right? This is great. So I got another question for you, and then if y'all have any questions, please put them in the comments so I can get them answered. Now, a lot of people that are on here, they're from all over. Of course, we know that. So I wanted to, you say get in there and you say ask. So how big is the iHeart footprint?
We have over 280 markets, over 800 radio stations throughout the United States. I oversee not only McAllen, the Rio Grande Valley, but Corpus Christi, Bryan College Station, Beaumont, Waco, Temple, Killeen. I just recently got promoted about a year and a half ago, and then COVID hit, and I wasn't able to travel. But we have, I'll give you an example. In Waco, we have WACO FM. We got Zach and Jim in the morning. Those guys are so community oriented. They just recently did a golf tournament to help a nonprofit. They didn't have to do anything but to talk about it on the air, show up at the event. They emceed the award ceremony, and they did real good. I think they raised like $20,000 for that golf tournament, But the nonprofit did a lot of the legwork. So that's another thing, you have to do a lot of the legwork, a lot of the setup. We're just a vehicle to help you promote your event. I've had nonprofits come to me sometimes, and they ask me for ideas on fundraisers and stuff. And I can help them out. But if you come to a radio station, you don't have an idea of what you want to do or what kind of fundraiser you want to do, that's not too good. You come to the table with a plan, with an idea, and then we can help you set up a marketing plan. That's what I like to do. And like I said, our guys are always ready to help with events. We're not real athletic, so don't ask us to join a 5K run, but we will show up. We have a guy in our sales department that does a lot of these. He'll go up and play warm up music for a 5K run on a Saturday morning at 7 a.m. So we don't mind helping out.
That is awesome. So, if you, the other question I had was, and I think you answered it, but I want to give you an opportunity to add anything to it. So, it's how to get free radio airspace. So, how do nonprofits get free radio airspace?
Well, because of the pandemic, we've been focusing all our efforts on the COVID vaccine rollout. We've been focusing our efforts on getting information out with the hospitals and stuff like that. We get doctors on there to talk about what's going on. We work with the food bank. Food bank's kind of like our charity of choice. We do the K-Tex 10-man jam where we help them raise $80,000 for an event we did back in 2019. Had a real big turnout. But what they do is they do all the ticket sales. They organize the ticket sales. They print all the tickets. We promote the event because it's our event, but they handle all the ticket sales, and they get, after we pay expenses, production costs, and all that, they get to keep the rest of the money. So that's a big thing for us. But what I like to do is help nonprofits get awareness out, because once you get, all it takes is a couple of people to like what you're about, and then they'll volunteer to help you out. you know and the thing is, you have to build an army chest of volunteers to help you, because you can't do it all yourself. You can't. It's impossible. If you're putting on a big event, if you're doing like a fundraiser where you have a live act, that's a lot of planning goes into that. You got to get the venue, you got to book the band or the DJ, what kind of theme you're going to have that night. A lot of people like doing casino nights and stuff like that because people like to go have fun. you know and so what you do is you get people that are like-minded like you, that want to help the community, to help you in your organization. And there's people all over the Rio Grande Valley, all over the United States, that don't mind giving back to the community. They really don't.
I have a question here from April, and April is asking, when making a proposal to a radio station, is there language we should stay away from?
Um, just like Sabrina said earlier, the who, the what, the where, the why. What's the money being raised for? And that's what I look at. If it's for a good cause and we can help in any way, we do that. Now, we don't offer a lot of public service announcements. If we run public service announcements, they're mainly awareness campaigns. They're not for like events. Now, if we sponsor an event like Food Bank 10-man jam, well, we're going to promote that event. We're going to use our station voice guy to promote the event. But as far as language, I mean, just the basic stuff. Contact information. If you have a website, check out our website, and I'll do that. I'll go check out the website and see what they're about. If it's a nice, if it's a nice set up website, I'm going, okay, these people got it together. There's a lot of nonprofits that have good intentions, but they just don't have good marketing skills. And it's so nice to hear Sabrina. I mean, in the 40 minutes she was talking before I came on, I mean, she was hitting it on target. Those are the things you need to be doing in order to get your organization out there and to generate revenue to help you with your charity, so you can make considerable donations to whoever you want to in the community.
Okay. So I have a clarifying question. So when you say that when you say that you're running like the COVID things right now, and I'm pretty sure a lot of radio stations are doing that, but let's say if a nonprofit has an event and they send in a PSA, does that automatically get denied, or do you
No,
then have to pick up the phone?
what I'll if they email me, I usually tell them email me because I live on email. But and then I'll respond back. Hey, this is what we can do for your event. We'll have you come in 2 weeks ahead of time, give you an opportunity to sell tickets. Blah 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 blah. Can you come in? Or now since COVID and we had these COVID protocols, we do everything on the phone now. All our interviews are on the phone, and actually, it's more convenient. Like Monday we had Johnny Hernandez, who used to be with the DPS. He's retired, but he works with the Edinburgh Crime Stoppers. And here at iHeartMedia, we are real pro police, and we want to help when they have events. We do. So he was on the air Monday morning, but the Jay-Z called him at 7 a.m. and he was still asleep, but we got him on the air. But so we do that, and then the borderline. But as far as actual PSA, if we're not sponsoring the event or co-sponsoring the event, we usually don't run those PSAs. If it's an awareness campaign, we may put it what we call an autofill, where it'll play in like on KTEX, it'll play overnight on this show that that we have to fill audio with, and then sometimes on KISS we'll run some fill PSAs as well. But we don't really run a lot of those because we have a lot of national campaigns that we run with iHeart.
Okay, so that makes sense to me. So since I know you, you probably correct me a lot. So I'll send in a PSA and then you'll say, can you come into the radio station? So let's say if I didn't know you and I sent that PSA and you're like, we're not doing PSAs right now, what language would I ask you to be invited to come in?
No, if you have not, if it's a worthwhile event, and all trust me, all events are worthwhile. You know, um, you know, all your Boys and Girls Club events that you were promoting. I mean, Boys and Girls Club does great things throughout the country. So I want to be a part of helping you promote that. It just depends on what it is. And like a lot of the chambers, what the chambers do is they'll invest in marketing. Okay, they're they're a nonprofit, but they're really not. They get, they have a budget and stuff. So if you're a larger nonprofit, and what I would recommend you do, if you want to get a radio station to help you promote your event, you go to them and say, hey, look, I have $1,000 in advertising budget that I'd like to spend on your radio station. What can you give me in return as added value? And usually it'll be the morning show interview. We'll put you on our social media platform. If it's an awareness campaign about your organization, we'll put you on our borderline show, and you'll get multiple plays on our iHeartRadio podcast network.
Got it. Okay. That makes sense to me. So one last question, because it is 4:30 and we're supposed to leave. But I do want people, because everybody hears radio and they think concert. And I think one time I came to you and was like, let's talk about a concert. And you were like, yeah, pump your brakes on that. That might not be it's a lot. So tell us the pros and cons of a concert, and we'll end it at that.
Well, what artists you're bringing in, like Stars, the LNF Stars event, they bring in like big time acts. You know, people want to go see them. If you book a local act, it's hit or miss. You just don't know. And then there's so much expense, and you got production costs. You got to pay for their a lot of artists demand that. Now, some, not all, but some, that you provide them hotel rooms. Some will even say, we need airfare. So on top of paying them their fee to perform, you got to cover those other three items. So that gets expensive, and like when we do 10-man jam, and we make the announcement like in late October, and like for about 3 weeks, I'm worried, because we have to sell tickets in order to meet our production costs. So so I'm always checking every Monday, how many ticket sales we get, because I want to make sure that we cover our expenses. And after we cover our expenses, then everything else is gravy. That's what I make. But it's concerts that they're good, but you're playing Russian roulette. You don't know what's going to appeal, and a lot of the A artists you want to get are expensive. I'm not going to lie. I mean, and now since COVID's over and a lot of touring's going on, oh my God, ticket prices are kind of pricey.
Yeah, I know. I just wanted to put it out there because I was one of those young nonprofit execs and I was excited about a concert. And so it took someone like you to say, hold on, you might want to do something a little bit different and really think about this thing. So,
Look, the trick is, and there are a lot of organizations, a lot of businesses, a lot of doctors, a lot of lawyers that want to give back to the community. And if you have an event and you sell tables, table of 10, $1,500, they'll buy that table. You know, the trick is to get the money before the day of the event. You know,
before
But
they eat the
real,
food, that is really the
exactly,
trick.
exactly. Because that way you cover your production costs before the event starts, and anything else, like you have a silent auction. Like silent auctions are great. Hey, I bought a barbecue grill at the Rotary Club, the Cajun Fest.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
our event.
my wife and I go every year when they have it, and we'll shop the auction boards and we'll bid. And so there was this grill. It was going for 510. I told my wife I want it, so I bid at 530, and nobody else bid at 530 after that. So I got it. But I was real happy. And it was heavy to carry out. But you do those kind of things. You have raffles. During hey, buy a ticket. We got $5 tickets. Your chance to win. Blah blah blah. It's just the fun of giving back, and people get into it. You know, Concerts, they're nail biters. Because there's so much you have to do in order for the concert to go off right.
So I just wanted to y'all to hear that from the expert who's been putting on concerts forever, um, and knows the risk that is involved in doing the concerts. Thank you so much, Billy, for your time today. Thank you guys we had a little technical difficulty. You heard me probably saying a couple of bad words about Facebook and Zoom on my group, but a lot of people found us, and this will be shared in our group, and hopefully by tomorrow I figure it out. But I really want to thank you for always being there and always being open to provide that feedback and that communication. And if anybody has any questions for Billy, like you've heard this information, you process it. It takes people time to process it. Post the question. I'll send it to him and he will answer. I haven't even asked him, will he answer? I know he will answer. He will provide that feedback. So any last parting words, Billy?
Just you have to be persistent. You have to be determined. You know, and you can't. Don't take no for an answer. You got to keep grinding. It's a grind. It's a constant grind for nonprofits. And we just play a small part in helping them grow their organization and help them promote their event. We're just a small part, but that's what we're about.
So thank y'all. Thank y'all so very much for joining us today. Wave bye-bye to the people, Billy. And we are out. I'll be following this up with the email. Thank you guys.
All right, bye
Bye-bye.
bye.